Welcome to the Global Atheist. Today we are going to have a chat about India, particularly prejudice with ideas about India. And I'll be having a conversation with Xandrieth. He's himself from India. Let's have some fun. Hello, Xandrieth.
Hello. Yeah.
How are you? It's good to see you
Yeah,
again.
yeah, same here, and it's good to be back here again. Yeah, we
Brilliant.
have been planning this for a while, so kind of
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, I'm glad it's happening. In preparation of, well, I must say, very little preparation of this conversation, I made a comment about, well, I don't know very much about India and Indians, and so my weird ideas are also not so many, and we could have done with people who, let's say, from Britain. But one of the things I did have some, at least experience with Indian programmers, something like 10 years ago. And that was interesting. Not always good, I should add. In general, those programmers, the company I work for, I'm a computer programmer myself, hired Indian programmers for, well, various kinds of work, most of them routine, that apparently was cheaper to outsource to India. And those programmers were pretty good. They could do their job, but management was terrible. Does that ring a bell?
Actually, you're talking about a pretty back in the days kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming it's much better than that now. And but the outsourcing part is something that India is a part of quite aggressively even now. For example, the last company I worked with, they had almost the entire workforce in India. The company was registered in, like, not was, it is still, it is registered in Canada, but the founder is an Indian. Like, he now lives in Canada, but he is an
Ah,
Indian, like both the founders. And there are some people outside of India, mostly to manage communities in different time zones, but the main workforce is based on India. So India is still a good one of the prime countries for outsourcing work. There are others that have joined now, like Africa is kind of catching up in that, but I think we are one of the top ones.
yeah.
Because
Well,
it's
yeah.
mostly due to the currency. It's mostly because of two reasons. One is the currency difference, so, and the currency valuation difference, I mean, and the second is the time zone difference. So it's like that getting some work done when the workforce in the Western regions cannot work, like they're sleeping and stuff. And the currency valuation is even more important because let's say you are working with someone of skill level A, let's say just A. So having someone of similar skill level in the West would be, let's, what's the standard now? 40K maybe annual, 40K USD annual. But in India, someone of similar level would be earning, once again, the average would be something around 8, 6 to 8 LPA, but that is in INR. So that is what, 10K, something around 10K USD per month, per year. So that's a huge difference, and that's
Yeah.
very profitable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the company I worked for eventually, I mean, later they even got rid of Indian programmers, but they turned down the buttons a bit. And the problem was, well, getting management in India to, well, essentially study what was expected of them and to make that clear to their staff. again, that's several times I've had telephone conversation with the actual programmers in Mumbai, and they were fine. Occasionally there were some language problems, but in general that wasn't the big thing. But their bosses, however, wanted to micromanage very much what their staff was doing. Well, they were doing fine. So that was difficult. But that's pretty much where my, let's say, things in India end, because, well, I don't know much about India. I studied India a bit in university, but that was, well, about stuff that may be still going on, but may also be a thing of the past. Things like sharecropping farmers and stuff like that. I have no idea if that's still a thing.
That should have been a thing of the past, but that isn't, unfortunately. So, see, India went through there are two parts. So let me divide it into the agricultural part and the corporate part. So the agricultural part, where you mentioned about sharecropping and stuff like that. So India went through a green revolution. I'm not exactly sure about the timeline, but let's say somewhere between the last 2 decades. So that has improved the situation quite a bit. But what happens is, there are, once again, just like everything else, there are several tiers of farming. Like there's someone who actually owns the land and is working on his own farm. So they are the primary segment who made a lot out of that green revolution, and as a result controls a lot of it. But there are the part, there are then the second tier who has small farms in it under them. Like they're not exactly owning what you would, the amount of land you would consider to be a farm, but they have some kind of land under them, 1 or 2 acre or something like that, something small, something you would be most probably have a house or something on, and they're getting their stuff done by them. Like they're still poor, but they're making ends meet. And then there are people who don't own anything. They are working as laborer on someone else's farm. So they are mainly the one we refer to by the sharecropping thing. For them, almost nothing has changed. And plus, I recently checked some studies where it was a comparison between the increase of productivity and the increase in wages. And while in the last, not decade, last century, the increase in productivity kind of matched with the increase in wages quite linearly, but now that gap has increased quite a bit. So although in this 21st century we have increased productivity tremendously due to technical advances, but that hasn't reflected in equal volume in the increase in wages. This part is not just a India thing; it's a all over world thing. And then comes the corporates. The corporate sector has developed quite a bit, and we have like come pretty close to the international standards because we have to adjust the outsourcing part. That is one of the major revenues in the corporate sector in India. And but the micromanaging thing hasn't changed much. It's unfortunately a like Indian nature, to be honest. I've seen people, not just a corporate thing, like in general in India, people who are the middle management have a habit of trying to micromanage stuff to, to give a stamp, to have their stamp on everything, to have a feel that it's going on their way. They are the manager, so it's going on in their way. They are directing it. So it's a kind of, it is a stereotype, but there's much very good reason behind the stereotype. I've seen it happen in front of me.
Yeah.
That is a problem. That is a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I studied in university about sharecropping was essentially a system of exploitation of landless farms.
Yes, that exploitation was, I will say it was in the peak during the British era, because there was pressure from the British on the landlords, and then as a result, they transferred that pressure into the people under them, and then they under them and stuff like that. So that external huge pressure has vanished, fortunately, but it's still the landowners and the farm owners still have the position of power. They still have all the what should I say privileges with them, and the people in the lower tier who are working for them don't have any leverage, so they still get exploited.
Yeah.
The
I
level
mean,
has reduced, but not enough.
yeah. I mean, exploitation is not unique to India. It happens
Yeah,
everywhere. But
yeah, true.
I mean,
Only the modes differ.
India used to have, at least when I studied it, a few rather insidious systems of doing, exploiting the well, laborers and landless peasants. Anyway, I see a few questions in chat, and yeah, I've always wondered how the class system works and if anything is being done to improve it. Can you
Uh,
elaborate?
yeah, sure. Yeah, the long answer would be very long, so I will try to have a middle ground between the very short and very long answer. The class system is not an India thing; it's prevalent everywhere. The Indian version is the caste system, so it is the predominant class system in India, and what by uh, actually the caste system is a Hindu thing, not exactly an Indian thing. But since it is a Hindu majority nation, it kind of expanded into everyone else as well. Like even the non-Hindus fall into some form of caste category in that system, although they are not primarily a part of it due to the difference in religion. And so there are several tiers. The difference between the caste system and the class system in an expanded sense is the caste system is determined by birth. Like if you are born into a lower caste, you don't have an option of climbing the social ladder, no matter how hard you work. And that is the major difference and the major exploitative part. And expanding would be, so there are higher castes and lower castes. The top is the Brahmins, then there are the Kshatriyas, then there are the Vaishyas, then there are Sudras, and then there are Dalits who are sometimes considered part of the system, sometimes out of the system. And the non-Hindus are, depending on their privilege, they usually fall below the upper class, but it kind of depends on how much privileged they are, not the religion, but the family or the inheritance, stuff like that. And now explaining what each of the classes mean. The Brahmins are basically the preachers, the clergy, the educated class. Like it comes from an era where education was by default religious education. So the Brahmins, being the preachers, held all the education. And then the Kshatriyas are the warriors. They usually are the kings and the generals and stuff like that. Although the soldiers, but usually not the foot soldiers. That kind of depends on the era and the kingdom, but more like the managing side. The warrior actually the foot soldiers also kind of, and the Vaishyas are the businessmen, the people who have shops, different kinds of shops, blacksmiths, stuff like that. And the Sudras are the people, the working class, like they are the people working for the Vaishyas or the Brahmins or the Kshatriyas. They are actually doing the labor. And the Dalits are, Dalits are a bit broad because they don't have, it's something that is defined for multiple places, like there are Chandals, form of it. But main thing is they are below that entire class system. So they are not even workers, they're nothing. They do the manual labor that no one else wants to do, and they don't have a say to it. For example, the manual scavenging, that is a major problem in India, which is very frustrating because it is something that is very easy to solve. It's not something that we have to find a solution for. The solution is there, but no one wants to implement it because no one cares about the people who are suffering for it. They're doing stuff like that. Then, for example, the sharecroppers thing came in, so they would usually be Dalits because the workers usually have some kind of leverage, although they are still working for others. I mean, the Sudras and stuff, but they're not that exploited. And now the system has is not that rigid anymore. Like people from different classes do other stuff other than what they are determined by their caste. But it still it still exists in some form, and the amount of rigidity depends on the region of India we are talking about.
I mean, as I understand it, caste is no longer legal in India, or at least discrimination on caste isn't. But as I
Yeah,
understand it, in practice, it's still quite alive.
yeah. So coming to what is being done to improve it, firstly it is not legal, of course, and there are several laws that defends people against caste discrimination. Like uh, by law, someone can be jailed for discriminating in severe ways, but actions doesn't take place much, mostly because the victims don't have much leverage to bring in the law and enforcement into the situation. And the other thing is there is a reservation system that was programmed by most mainly by Ambedkar, besides few other personalities, during the development of Indian Constitution, during the independence, the transfer of power and stuff, the forming of government. So the Indian Constitution has the reservation system, which ideally was designed to help the lower caste to progress into the responsibilities and the privileges that the higher castes have by keeping some places, some seats for them in various organizations, like the reservation in education, government jobs, stuff like that. And the idea was to slowly phase it out. I mean, Ambedkar idea was that slowly it will be phased out as improvements happen. But what happened is it did help. I won't say that it didn't help. It definitely helped. Like there are several examples of how it has helped. The situation has improved tremendously, although it is not enough. What happened, the sad part of what happened was it got hijacked by politicians being politicians. It kind of turned into a vote bank system where some politician would, target some fraction of the society and use them as a safe vote bank to win elections. And there's one part of the reservation system that is not perfect. Like the system itself is not perfect, but there's one problematic part. But the problem is, personally, I don't have any better option to that. So I don't know how to replace that, to be honest. That is, I completely agree with the reservation system in education, jobs, and stuff like that. Because there is a healthy margin where everyone is competing for. It's just some part of the seat. And that is not a seat someone is taking away from the other cause. It's like it is something to fight among themselves. Fight is the wrong term, compete would be a better term for that. But in the political scenario, since India is a multi-party government, just for the context, there is it is divided into multiple constituencies, yeah, which is also the case in other democracies and republican democracies. And some of those constituencies are reserved for some part of the reservation system. Like in the reservation system, there is general. The general is the upper caste and the middle class caste. Then there are SCs, which are scheduled caste, that is below all that. Like that's what the ST is, where the lower caste starts from. It doesn't use the caste names because they're trying to the. I mean, the idea is to shift away from that, so it is by design. And there are scheduled tribes. The tribes are, as the name suggests, the tribes were not exactly part of a major religion. And there are OBCs is the middle ground of that. Like they are the lower caste, but the upper level of lower caste, something like that. So based on that, some constituencies are reserved for OBCs, some are reserved for SCs, and some are reserved for STs. That is the problematic part, because that's where vote bank politics comes to the power. Because like that no one from some other part of the society can win a vote there because they cannot compete there. So that gets hacked and hijacked and misused a lot. And that is very problematic, but unfortunately I can't think of a better option to that, because if we remove that, I'm very sure almost every vote will be coming from the upper caste. No one will care about the people are pretending to care for the votes. Even that pretense will go away. So we can't really remove that, but although it's clearly problematic.
Yeah, I see that. Um, I mean, it's a problem essentially putting particular groups in a democracy in a protected position. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Even though it's done with the best of intentions, it
yeah.
doesn't necessarily improve the lot of the intended people. I was wondering, how does nowadays in modern India caste and class interact? I mean, I'm well aware that there are a few very rich Indians. Are they of particular castes, or how does that work?
See, what the thing is, the upper caste kind of had an advantage from ahead. So what happened is when you have that advantage, you have an inheritance that gets inherited by generation after generation. So you kind of pass on that privilege. So that is where, although in India it's mostly for having an advantage of the caste, but even if you remove the caste, that wouldn't change much, to be honest. Like if you come from a privileged family, if you come from a rich family, irrespective of what your otherwise social standing is, you would be in a advantageous position compared to people around you. The caste system kind of benefited a few in that, but even if the caste system didn't exist, something close to that would be there anyway. The caste system is more like an excuse and an exploitative way to fuel that, but the system
Yeah.
would have existed anyway.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is what I was wondering about it. I mean, my nation, the Netherlands, used to have a rather strict class system with a tiny class of rich people who employed pretty much the lower classes and the middle class that managed to at least get some wealth. I mean, we didn't get rid of that; it's still there, but we changed into a highly egalitarian society that at least we can call. I can call my boss with his first name, to give an example.
Okay.
And I can even send my boss to fetch coffee for a meeting. And that's widely accepted. I mean, he makes a lot more money from fetching coffee, of course, but that's the idea. What was I trying? Oh yeah, I was trying to ask this. I imagine that even lower caste Indians have managed to get at least wealthy to a standard that's okay, or even more than okay in India. Um, is that really a thing, or is it still the old caste system that is mostly the societal division?
See, the caste system is still prevalent, and a huge part of the society is still under the prejudice. But there are definitely examples of people from the lower caste succeeding and making it big. So that did happen. And another thing, what happened is, once you have a system in place, you will always find people finding a way to take advantage and hack into the system. So there have been some people from lower caste, although relatively lower in number, who kind of took advantage of the system and made big in ways that is not exactly ethical. So that has also happened. What happens is, unfortunately, those small number of examples get used by uh, the radical religious people to generalize their arguments against the reservation system, which is really dumb. But stuff like that does happen. In fact, there are some cases, and it is not that uncommon. Uh, I've seen people who are actually from middle or upper caste, something like that, take out a lower caste certificate just to have an advantage in the examinations, the government examinations that take place where reservation is a thing,
That's an
which
interesting
is
game.
really funny. No one, like people who do that, won't publicly accept that they did it, because even if they are taking advantage of that certificate, they don't want that tag in a social status that they have that certificate, because that means they are sacrificing their social hierarchy. And so that's really funny, yeah. But that does happen quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting way of gaming the system. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I mean, at least in the Netherlands, the big social equalizer is education. I presume the same thing works in India, but at least we changed our educational system after the Second World War so that higher education became available pretty much for everyone with the capability of learning. There were
Yeah, yeah.
exceptions to that, but that was the idea, and that changed our society seriously. Essentially, was the end of the old division of working class versus the haves and have-not. That idea. I mean, it's still there, but it's much more subtle. And I mean, I come from a middle class family. Well, sort of. My dad was middle class. My mum was firmly working class. But I went to university and I have a good life. Um, is that available in India?
So there's a bit. Firstly, I wasn't aware of Netherlands having a very rigid class system, because I know Netherlands based on what it is now, and now it is one of the best examples of close and of egalitarian society. I think Netherlands ranks very high, like within the top 10 or something like that, in both standard of living, happiness index, and all kind of positive indexes like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't even aware of that. I'm rather surprised to know. And yeah, coming to the education system. So India depends a lot on education. That is very true. And India has a education focused society. What I mean by that is we still have quite a bit of illiteracy, and but education is valued here, like knowing someone is educated gives them some kind of some social points, like it gives some prestige in the society. So like when it comes to parents, and the parents, they kind of try their kids to get educated, at least as long as they have the means to it, because it's not just about the education, it's more about the prestige that comes with the education. Because, for example, the thing is, in India, when you think about someone is getting educated, someone might have high degrees, very good academic achievements, and still be dumb as fuck. Because I have noticed people who have high degrees talk complete nonsense, and I just wonder how did they pass the exams. But they have a, like, we have a mug up culture. Like there's fixed syllabus. You learn that, you just study for the exam. You don't care about what it actually means, which is unfortunate. So that does happen, but even in India as well, education is an escape to poverty. Uh, it's not as much as it used to be. For India, for a good period of time, was somewhat a socialist state. Like the earlier regimes, the initial governments that India had socialist values. So for them, the government jobs was the best option for uplifting from society. And the another advantage of a government job is, as long as you pass the exam, as long as you score good in the competitive test, stuff other than that didn't matter much. So it was definitely, it's still considered a ticket away of poverty. So education is valued, especially in the states where people have a lower average per capita income. It's more common there than other states. For example, uh, there are some states like Bihar and Uttar Pradesh are two big states in India in terms of population, and they are also some of the poor, like one of the lower levels of states in terms of per capita income. So when it comes to the government competitive exams, both in terms of the education and the government jobs, and they are connected. Like you need to have the some degree to sit in the jobs. So there are stuff like that. Those are the two states that are the most competitive about them. Like most high scoring candidates come from those states, because that's one of the few options people there have to escape from poverty. While if you look at the rich states, let's say Delhi being the capital, of course, is rich. Then there's Gujarat. Uh, there will be a few more. I think Tamil Nadu is also doing good. These are just some names of the states. The exams also exist there, but the people are not that serious about it. There still will be good scoring people from that, but that is not the main focus of the society in general, because they have other options to earn the living and make something good in their life. And India has government education where the education is subsidized and stuff, besides the private education, which is also present, and that is fine. I think a healthy dose of both should exist everywhere. And for the government education, you need to have good scores to get into them. The main difference between private education and government education comes during the college days. So in India, education is divided into school, college. College and university is kind of connected, and then you start your jobs, or then you have postgraduate. The schooling system here goes up to 12. So up to 10 it is higher education. When you have completed your 10th, you give a like national level competition. Not competition, it's a national level examination where the scores, and there's a ranking throughout the nation,
Yeah.
and it depends. There are a few main options for that. Like there are some educational boards which are nationwide. Then every state government has its own state board. So there's a difference. So depending on which one you study, you are either giving the exam and competing against everyone from the nation or everyone from the state. And so rankings in that kind of helps you into get into the next education into government's options better. If you have better marks and better ranks, you have better chances of getting into government schools or government colleges or government universities, depending on which position you are. And the benefit is too, there are some tiers of government education. Like in times of schools, it's way too broad to simplify. But let's say when it comes to college, where people get their bachelor degrees or master degrees, then since I'm from engineering background, let me give you an insight of that because I know better of that field.
Yeah.
There are three tiers of government colleges. There are IITs, which are the best ones. Here, not just best government options, they're also one of the best options overall in India, both in comparison to private and government. So getting into them not just means that you are getting your degrees for cheaper, because they of course cost less than the private equivalent options, much less in fact, very significantly lower because it is subsidized. You are also getting into one of the best institutes in the nation. So for that, the ranking and the academic achievements you have kind of benefits you a lot. And once you get into a good institute, you have better chances of getting a better job and earning more. So it's all interconnected. So education is valued in that sense much more than actually trying to understand something and stuff. Uh, and below IIT, there are NITs, which are National Institute of Technology. Similar concept, but not as premium, much larger in number. And below that, there are triple IITs, and there are several ranks to that. So that's the main value of education in India. It's really connected to academics. But if you're getting it, it's good for you. Like you have the opportunity, and it depends on how good you make out of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that kind of
Yeah. Cheers for explaining that. I mean, from a societal point of view, education is both economically and societally important, not just as an equalizer, but also essentially a well-educated population has better chances for wealth, freedom, all that. Anyway, Carrie Ann Chrysler asked, I'm also curious about festivals and celebrations throughout the year and traditions and expectations of different societies. I'm not quite sure if I understand the question, but
yeah, actually, I kind of understand it. So India is known for its festivals. Like we are known for its festivals. I've noticed that we really are, and they're kind of fun. Like they are, and what happens is India is a mix of cultures. Like there are way too many cultures in the nation, as a result of which we have way too many festivals. And usually, and usually, people celebrate each other's festivals, which is good, which is
oh,
really good. Yeah, and that is fine because what happens is, uh, let's say, okay. So, firstly, there are more than one religions. Even if you go to the major religions, and in most places, you can participate in someone's festival even if you are not from that religion. You might be from a different religion, but people in general don't mind. Things are changing a bit, and there are definitely places where you won't be comfortable at doing that. But in most places, it's quite okay to do that, and it's rather welcomed. And the reason behind many festivals is just that there are way too many cultures celebrating their own festivals, and people usually join in others' festivals, and as a result, we have many festivals that we celebrate around the year. Uh, the funny thing is, since India is a Hindu majority nation, most of the most of the festivals are Hindu festivals. But the interesting part is not like different parts of India celebrate different versions of the festival on the same day, even if they are all Hindu. And so that is kind of interesting. For this one called Karwa Chauth that is very popular, but that is celebrated mostly by North Indians, like North Indian Hindus. And then there's a festival called Poonam that is connected to harvesting, that is mostly celebrated by southern India. But since it is connected to harvesting, there are harvesting is a common thing to celebrate because the rituals come from an era where the society mostly depended on agriculture for food, and harvesting is a huge thing of that. So harvesting in, I think, all over the world, harvesting has some kind of festival associated with it.
yes.
So harvesting days all over India has festivals of harvesting days. The versions differ. For example, I mentioned about Poonam. Then there is Lori, which is celebrated mostly in northern India. Uh, I'm a bit, I'm not that good at this because I'm not that into festivals personally. Then there is Holi is quite famous. I mean, Holi is so famous that it's well known outside of India as well. The festival of colors where people play with colors and stuff. And Diwali is also famous. Diwali is once again something that people know about even outside of India. So it's where the firecrackers, diyas and stuff that come in. And coincidentally, Diwali and Holi are the festivals I kind of don't celebrate, and the others kind of depend on invitation. Like if people invite into stuff, I just join. I don't mind joining. But the thing is, Holi is really like let loose kind. Like you cannot. People go crazy with that, so I'm not very comfortable with that. So I avoid that. And plus, it's also connected to a lot of pollution. And Diwali started off well. Like if you go into the rituals and the origins, it's all about lighting diyas. Diyas are like small lamps, oil lamps, or lighting candles and stuff like that. It's mostly connected to diyas because like diya Diwali. So that's where the name comes from. But now what happened is slowly it kind of turned into a festival of firecrackers. And although the government on paper tries to curb it because firecrackers are very bad for the environment, and since uh, firecrackers are lit all throughout the year in small occasions like someone's wedding or a new year or like some kind of tournament, stuff like that. But the difference between that and Diwali is the volume.
Oh,
Like,
that. Sorry,
yeah, the volume is significant. Yeah.
a question pops up just from what you tell me. The calendar in which those festivals work, is that a Hindu calendar, or is that connected to, I mean, possibly the Gregorian calendar we all love and use?
No, those calendar. Yeah, you are correct about that. The festivals are connected to Hindu calendar. The Hindu festivals are connected to Hindu calendar, and we also celebrate them. There are several Muslim festivals as well. Like mostly it's Eid, but there are multiple variations of Eid. So there's not one Eid that people celebrate. There is Bakri Eid, there is Eid ul Fitr, or there is a few more. I'm not that good with all the names. These are the most popular ones. Then there is Ramzan is also there. Ramzan is the part that non-Muslims don't contribute much because no one likes to have take fast and not eat. That is not fun. So people don't contribute to that festival much, but the other one people still participate because biryani is tasty and stuff like that. It's mostly fun. And I think both Islamic calendar and Hindu calendars are connected to the moon. They are both lunar calendars. Yeah, and for the Hindu calendar, there's a book called Pachali. I think it's called Pachali. Uh, I might be wrong with that. Just a second, let me just actually, there are some terms that sound a bit too similar to each other. So there's a book that kind of records when the festival is coming for that year and stuff. It's connected to the concept of astrology, not astronomy, astrology, which is once again a pseudoscience. But these are connected. Pachanga, Punjika. Yeah, I knew I was saying something wrong, but it sounds close to that. So it's called Punjika. That is the book. Punjika is the Bengali pronunciation. In Hindi, it will be Panjika. But the thing is that. So that is the record of that year's lunar activities, and based on that, the festivals, the dates and timelines of the festivals. That's what.
Any festivals or party you do with, let's say, Gregorian calendar, like New Year's Day? I don't know.
Yeah, New Year's Day is pretty big. The New Year Day thing kind of is a result of the outsourcing thing. And by the way, let me just answer that comment. There is no cow festival or something connected to that per se, but there are some festivals where cows are celebrated. Like it's not dedicated to cows, it's something else, but since they are sacred, they are celebrated. There is one particular one where they play an important role. So you might have heard about Shiva. It's one of the primary Hindu characters from Hindu mythology. So if I were to compare, I have seen a recurring theme between most religions, which is having a trinity. So in case of Hindus, like Christianity has the Trinity. There's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that is their Trinity. So Hinduism has the Trinity, which is Shiva. He is the destroyer. Then there is Brahma. He is the creator, and there is Vishnu, who is the protector. So that is Hinduism's Trinity. And since they are the main three gods beyond multiple crores and stuff, uh, there is a festival called Shivratri, and which is dedicated to Shiva. And Shiva has a pet, like most Hindu gods have a pet. For Shiva, it is Nandi. The name of the pet is Nandi, and Nandi is a bull. And bull is the male of a cow. So for that festival, cows play a huge role. Like it's not for the cow, but since it's for the like Shiva and it's connected, so it's something like that. So,
Yeah.
and
I mean, we are of course well aware of holy cows, but
yeah,
it's one of those
yeah,
things that's mildly weird in Western eyes. Of course, we eat them, so they're definitely a different tack. But I remember seeing photos of cows walking the street in India and cars stopping for them, and they're essentially left to their device.
yes, that is.
Presumably cared for, but I don't know that.
Yeah, that actually is pretty common, and it's not just cows. Like in India's the stray animals in general kind of roam around free. There's not much rules and regulation beyond. I wouldn't say there is no rules and regulations. Systems. There are systems that exist on paper, but they are not enforced well. And since cows are considered sacred, no one bothers with them. They are almost like they kind of own the road. They really do whatever they want. No
Yeah.
one can stop them. And which is funny is maybe because they don't understand the difference much. If let's say a cow is blocking a road and you are in a car, you go close to it, honk, it won't react. It doesn't give no shit. But if you come out of the car, then it recognizes you as a human and then it will move, which is funny. You cannot do much to the cow. The cow has horns, it is much more physically stronger than you.
Yes.
But you can harm it with a car. If you hit it with a car, you will barely get some scratch. It will be hurt seriously. But it doesn't give a fuck about the car. If you go out, then it takes okay. I have to move. That is something really funny.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't recognize cars much.
Yeah. Oh, monkeys roaming free. Cat, that's an interesting question. Yes, we've seen the pictures and the films of monkeys in temples and in cities, pretty much roaming around free and nicking everything that's edible or shiny.
Yeah, that also happens, but it doesn't happen everywhere. Unlike cows, dogs, and cats, monkeys are not a common domestic. They are not exactly domestic animal, but they are not a common animal in all the habitats. So it depends on the city in context. If you are talking about some hilly areas where monkeys are common, then you will see that happen. And there are some places where, okay, once again coming back to Hindu mythology, there's a character called. Have you heard about Ramayan?
Nope.
No problem.
Yeah.
So it's one of the most important epics, like religious stories.
That does ring a bell now that you mention it.
Yeah. So okay. So there are two main epics that people care a lot about, and all some people, the religious radical people, almost consider that to be history, just like you have creationism in Christianity, and both are equally dumb. And so that's just for the context. But the thing is, in Ramayana, there's a character called Hanuman, and the Hanuman is a monkey. Not exactly a monkey. If I were to use technical term, Hanuman is a Hanuman. Like I know it sounds funny. So the name of the character is Hanuman, but the species is also Hanuman. Like Hanuman is a species of sub branch of apes, which is close to monkeys, but a little different. Like close to them, the same branch, but just like there are raccoons and stuff like that. So similarly, Hanuman is a species, but there's a character named Hanuman, and there's an army of monkeys. So Hanuman is independent, but the main character, which is Ram. Uh, Actually, there is no quick way to say that. I have to give you a little context. Uh, the Ramayana is the a story of Ram. So Ram Ramayan. Ram is the main guy, and according to the story, Ram is the avatar of Vishnu. So Vishnu, yeah, in Hindu mythology, there's a lot of avatars. Like avatars are all over the place, and the god who has the most number of common occurrences in terms of avatar is mainly Vishnu. So Ram is the avatar of Vishnu. So by default, Ram is a god. Although the avatar is a human avatar, but since it's avatar, it's Ram is considered a god, and the current Hindu nationalism and radicalism that is on the rise is kind of based around Ram as the central figure. And Ram gets exiled and falls in trouble. The villain is a demon called Ravan, and Ram has a wife whose name is Sita. Ravan, in order to Okay, a little more story. Ram has a wife whose name is Sita. Ram has a brother, a very loyal brother, whose name is Lakshman. So they have a father, of course. The father is Dasarath. And Dasarath had three queens, and he was a bit weak towards the youngest queen. And they, for a long period of time, they were not able to conceive any child. So Dasarath does a puja, brings in a sadhu, a rishi, not exactly a sadhu. There's some contextual difference. For rishis are like they're not exactly angels, but if I because Hindu mythology also has a form of angels, although that's not the exact term, but they would be close to what, yeah, they would be close to something between an angel and a prophet if you compare to Abrahamic religions. And so the rishi comes in, they do puja and stuff, and the three queens get a total of four kids, and the eldest one of that is Ram. So Ram is supposed to get the inheritance as a king after Dasarath dies. But the youngest queen is sad that her son won't be the king because her son is younger. So, since Dasarath had a weakness to her, he had given her two promises that he would fulfill no matter what the wishes are. And so that was the time when the youngest queen, Queen Keiki, I think her name was Keiki, something close to that, if not exact. She finally, under the influence of another character, which is Keiki's maid, she was kind of the crooked kind, taking advantage of stuff. So she figured out that if Keiki's son becomes the king, since she is Keiki's maid, she will get favors as Keiki, being the primary queen, would get favors. So that what she thought of, and she influenced her to take advantage of those two promises and make Dasarath, make her son, which is Bharat, the king. And that was her first wish. And the second wish, in order to remove conflict, she made Dasarath exile Ram. Like Ram would, the concept of exiling. And since Ram was married by that time, this didn't happen immediately. Actually, this didn't happen immediately after the birth. It happened after the son, all the sons came in the age where they can be a king.
I don't want to push you, but how does exactly Hanuman fit in this?
Yeah. So that's the exile is something that comes in the story. So I had to give the backstory to that. Yeah. Ram is the one who gets exiled, but since Sita is the Virgin Mary character, the pious outlook of how a woman should be, quote unquote, she follows Ram being a devout wife to her husband. And the Lakshman, which is the one of the brothers of Ram, he is the ideal, quote unquote, ideal brother to a eldest son of a family. So being a loyal brother, he also follows Ram, that he don't want him to go alone. And that's how the exile starts, and a lot of thing happens. And in between the exile, the main villain is a demon called Ravan, and Ravan had a sister called Surfanaka. Something happened, and Surfanaka notices Ram, and since Ram is the quote unquote ideal man, how a man should be, so Ram is called Purushottam. Purus means a man in Hindi, and Purushottam means the ultimate man, something like that. And Surfanaka gets attracted to Ram. Who wouldn't get attracted to the main character of a story? That's a common thing. And Surfanaka tries to seduce Ram, and Lakshman didn't like that. Lakshman doesn't like that. Ram doesn't. Ram is like the ideal character, so he doesn't react much. Although he's not exactly buying into the seduction, but he doesn't react much. But Lakshman doesn't buy it, and he cuts the nose of Surfanaka as a warning. And Surfanaka comes to Ravan with the complaint. Ravan doesn't like it because Ravan is her brother, and to teach Ram a lesson, he kidnaps Sita. Now Ram is at a position where he needs to rescue Sita, but he is alone. He doesn't have an army. He is in exile, and now he is in search of ways. And in that between, he comes across Hanuman, who almost takes him as an ideal, and Hanuman guides him to the army, to the kingdom of monkeys. So there's a kingdom of monkeys. There are two brothers in conflict. Ram sides with one of them, and in return, that Monkey King gives his monkey army to Ram. So through this story, Hanumans and monkeys are sacred. And as a result, when since Hanuman is the main character, there are many people who worship Hanuman as their primary ideal. And when it comes to the temples where Hanuman is being worshipped, in that area, monkeys get a free pass to do anything because monkeys are considered sacred there. And monkeys are not dumb. They notice that, they realize that, and they of course take advantage. Yeah, they take advantage of that. They know no one's gonna, take an action against them because they are considered sacred. They don't understand the concept of sacred, but they understand that people are not taking any action against them, so they take advantage of that. But outside of those specific places, even if monkeys roam around, they are not that problematic because they are just some animal living among humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a long story, but without the context, you wouldn't get it.
But thanks for that. Yes, Dean Kruger asked, who are the Hindutva? What are they all about?
Yes. Yeah, they are the main problem of India today. So Hindutva comes from Hinduism, but they're like the radical Hindus. Let me give you. There is a good example. So, since people understand America very well relative to other countries, let me take that as an example. America is a mostly white nation, and as a result, the white people get some privileges over the non-white people. But most white people don't either are pretty immune to that. They neither take advantage of that, they are not aware of that, they just live with it. But then there are some people who are the white supremacists who want white people to have the ultimate privilege and everyone else to be treated secondary. So it is similar to that in India. India is a Hindu majority nation. Hindus being the majority have some privileges, although not on paper, but on practical terms, because we Hindus are more, and they control most of the resources. But India is not a Hindu nation by terms of constitution and government. India is a secular nation, and that is not something some part of the Hindus are happy with. So just like there are white supremacists, there are Hindu supremacists, but the name they use is Hindutva. And so Hindutva is the radical part of Hinduism. They are radical groups. They are not one group. There are several of them. The main organization that controls this ideology and all its branches is RSS. RSS's full form would be Rashtriya Seva Sangh. The name itself sounds good, but they are far from what the name means. Rashtriya is nation. Rashtra is a nation, and seva means to serve. Like you're serving someone, you're giving them seva. And Sangh is just a group. So if I were to translate it, it would be national service group, something like that, a literal translation. But they're nothing like that. They have one ideology. They just want India to be a Hindu nation, not a secular nation. Like it will be run by Hindu laws. Non-Hindus will be secondary. The caste system will be the law. And just like the white supremacists, not just white supremacists, there would be even more extreme form would be the KKK, who wants everything to go according to the Bible. The creationist, the evangelist. Similarly, there's a rule book in Hinduism called Manusmriti, and these people want the country to run by the Manusmriti. And Manusmriti is not as popular as Bible because there are more like Hinduism has other scriptures which are more popular. For example, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Although they're not rule books, they're way more popular than this book. How people like most people actually haven't read those two either, and even less people have read Manusmriti. So that's kind of easy to take advantage of and promote that as the something ideal, which it is not. It is very toxic and very dumb. But that's how they want to run the nation. They want to run the nation with the Manusmriti because it gives them the position of advantage because they are, of course, the upper caste. Because why would lower caste, like voluntarily want themselves to be ruled by someone else?
Yeah. Is it a popular movement or just a fringe?
It is a fringe movement, but it is gaining popularity, and it is exactly like the Christian nationalism. It's the same thing. It's just a difference in name. And there's another what should I say? Comment here about Gita, and I actually have Gita. Wait. So this is Gita.
Ah, the book.
Gita is relatively speaking a good book. Like good book when you compare to other scriptures. It is not exactly. It's a spin-off of Mahabharata story. So Gita is about the character Krishna, and Krishna, just like anything else, is connected. Krishna is the avatar of Vishnu, coming back to the Trinity, and as a result, Krishna is also God. And in Mahabharata is a very long story. You don't need the entire context to understand it. Luckily, Gita is the part where Krishna gives his guidance to one of the main characters, Arjun. And I haven't read entire of Gita. I kind of want to start the scripture journey from there just to know what is there. I know a few of it. So it's mostly good. It still supports casteism, sexism, and stuff like that. But that is not the goal here. It's primarily focused on how you should lead your life. And since it's written back then, so it kind of promotes some of the ideas like that. But overall, it's relatively speaking a good book.
Unfortunately, I know only exactly one quote from it. Oppenheimer is supposed to have quoted Gita at Trinity. I have become death, destroyer of worlds.
Yeah. I'm not very sure which verse of Gita it is, but yeah, it is part of Gita. And that is, there's one more thing. India, since India have been under the British rule, so India has somewhat developed an inferiority complex where not all of India, like I hope I don't fall under that group. I would like to believe, but people have this concept that if they can get Western approval something onto something, then it's something to be proud of. And Oppenheimer quoting that part from Gita is often used by the fans of Gita. Mainly, there's another organization called ISKCON. You might have heard about them, even if not, you know about the Hare Krishnas. Have you heard about the Hare Krishnas?
Yes,
Actually, yeah. So the Hare Krishnas are actually ISKCON. Like the organization is ISKCON. No one calls them by Hare Krishna here. Since they chant Hare Krishna everywhere, they kind of got that name outside of India. But the organization is ISKCON. And the ISKCON is the cult of Krishna. they hold Krishna at the topmost level, and they hold Gita at the topmost level and use that to preach their stuff. But they are also connected to this Hindu nationalism movement. They are in the behind connected to RSS, and then they are also connected to the Hindu Mahasabha, which is the main branch, a main organization that kind of acts like say of Hinduism, just like you have Vatican for Christianity, similar to that. Uh, and since Oppenheimer quoted that short portion from Gita, they kind of used that as an example to promote that people consider Gita to be upmost. Like I'm very sure Oppenheimer didn't read all of Gita. Like
I
I can
don't
bet
think
on it.
so.
He probably heard that part, and that kind of sounds cool. And he was a man of science, so whenever since he was a man of science, he invented atom bomb. They kind of use it as a excuse to make people believe that Hinduism is scientific because a scientist quoted one small portion of
Yeah.
one small scripture of Hinduism.
Not, I mean, if I understand correctly, it's not, I mean, it's more a story than something he actually said at the moment, but I may be wrong.
I'm not very sure about that. I didn't exactly look into that much, but I think there are actual videos of him saying that. So I don't question whether he
Okay.
said it or not. I'm just very sure that he didn't quote that to say that Gita is great or something like that. He just liked
No,
that quote and
oh,
said
no,
it.
definitely
The quote
not.
is cool. The quote actually is cool.
Yes, it is. And I mean, it definitely, I mean, he was impressed by the result of his own work. It definitely was better than he expected and much more violent. And that must have triggered something. I'm quite certain about that. Anyway, I saw another question there, very. Oh, that's not the question I was trying to quote. No, what effects of global warming have India been facing? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, actually, let me answer the other question because that actually, unlike the question, the answer is pretty short. Hinduism is an unified religion, but since it has many characters under it, it is subdivided into many sects which prioritize one character over other. For example, there are Vaishnavas who prioritize Vishnu, there are Sivaites who prioritize Shiva, then there is ISKCON and fans of that who prioritize Krishna. So then there is Kali bhakts who prioritize Kali. So it's a little subdivided like that, but the religion itself is unified. And then once again, since it is spread across a large part of India, not all parts practice the same rituals, although they might be both Hindu. For example, even if you look in Christianity, there are Korean, which the funny example would be there is Black Jesus, there is Korean Jesus, and stuff like that. Well, it's similar to that. Like they are both Christian, but since they grew in a very different culture, the rituals are different. It's a similar concept to that. And coming to global warming, yeah, India does face global warming. I mean, it's not something we can escape from. It's all about like throughout the world, and India has an interesting position to that. Uh, India India is a huge nation. Like, it's not the largest or anything close to that, but it's still large enough. And it falls under different weather conditions. It falls under more than one tropical zone. Not the tropical zone. I think the tropical zone, it falls mostly into tropical zone, but some part is above the tropical zone. I'm not remembering the name correctly. There's a reason behind the polar area and the tropical area. There's a
Yeah,
name to that.
I know it, but the word
Yeah,
escapes me at the
same here.
moment.
I know it, but I'm not
Um,
remembering the name. So a small part of India also falls to that. And then some parts of India is surrounded by the ocean, and some part of India is landlocked. And then some part of India is surrounded by Himalayas, and some part of India is completely plain. So India has very different climatic conditions in different regions of it. So the effect of global warming is not that uniform, but we are facing that. Like every summer is hotter than the last one. The weather is getting a little more unpredictable, and some seasons are lasting longer than others. For example,
Do things
this
like
summer.
monsoons change? Monsoon
Uh-huh.
patterns, do those change?
Oh yeah, yeah, that also changed. The monsoon pattern has changed severely. Like if yeah, actually I don't have exact example to that, but yeah, that has definitely changed. So the weather patterns are changing a lot. And for example, this summer where I live in Odisha. Like I live in Bhubaneswar in Odisha. Odisha is the state, Bhubaneswar is the city, and it is in the southeastern part. And since it is the southern part, it's closer to the tropical region and it's relatively hotter. And this summer, we got temperatures like 44 degrees Celsius. Although it is not a desert, it kind of is relatively close to the ocean. It is like 72 kilometers from the ocean, but the summer is still very hot. And we are slowly getting heat waves now. Heat wave wasn't a regular thing here. Like this is not the first year that got heat wave, but heat wave is mostly a thing that you get in landlocked areas. This is not a landlocked area. We have ocean pretty close, but we are still getting it. And the government has a very funny position to it. The current regime is not scientific. It is a Hindu nationalist regime, just like any other religious regime. They are not that attuned with science. They say very dumb stuff. For example, the prime minister has been quoted saying that climate change is not real, not as explicitly as Trump. He is one of the worst examples, but it was more like that climate change is not exactly a huge thing. It's something that we faced as we are getting older, something dumb like that. I'm just paraphrasing. Uh, but there are some organizations who are taking advantage of that. For example, the government has some rich friends, mainly Adani and Ambani. I don't know if you have heard about that. The names, okay. Yeah, I don't think Netherlands is a main operation then, but they're like multinational companies now. So they operate in several countries outside of India as well. Netherlands might not be one of them. And so they are both investing into green energy. And while promoting them, sometimes the government talks about green energy sustainability and then brings in their name. Although I'm pretty sure the ruling regime doesn't really care much about that. And the companies themselves don't care much either. They just know that this is the next big thing and investing now will bring in good returns later. So that's a very confusing position of India in terms of climate change. And actually, I have to. Do you have something? Before any other interesting question come in, I have to go back to the Hindutva part a little. What happens is the current Hindutva government, like current government, the current ruling party is a Hindutva party. Like it is the BJP, and BJP is a branch, the political branch of RSS, and RSS is the main organization. So they have very toxic ideologies and very dumb ideologies. But what they're bent on is trying to convert the secular India into a Hindu Rashtra. So they are making slow changes consistently. And one of the recent changes they made is very funny, very dumb, and very sad. Uh, you know about the Christians trying to promote creationism in the education system, fighting against evolution, bringing in Bible studies and dumb stuff like that. India didn't have that problem until recently. So recently, Darwin has been removed from the national syllabus.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. And I'm laughing, but it's not a good news.
that's not a laughing
Luckily,
matter.
yeah, it's an awful matter. Uh, so India has more than one board of education that I kind of mentioned earlier, and the central board of education is NCERT. Just for the context, and the NCERT governs the syllabus in the government school, the central government school, like not the state government ones. And that is the board that the ruling government has the most control over. So now uh, they haven't exactly disclaimed evolution. Like they haven't made that huge of a jump. They have removed Darwin. They have introduced beside evolution the concept of das avatar. So thus avatar, thus means 10 by the way. Thus avatar is a Hindu mythological concept that is part of the book Manusmriti, which I mentioned, the dumb toxic book. In the thus avatar, there are 10 avatars of Vishnu. Once again, the recurring character. So the 10 avatars kind of start with a fish-like avatar, a boar-like avatar, the animal board, and some other forms, and it ultimately turns into a human-like avatar. So they kind of compared that to the theory of evolution, where we understand that life started from the ocean. So they're trying to make it sound scientific by comparing it indirectly and removing like Darwin explicitly. Like they're not trying to say evolution didn't happen. They're making gradual changes, which is still very troubling science. And the Dasavatar, of course, is very dumb and it's not scientific at all. In fact, the funny thing is, they say that just like Darwin suggested, like just like the theory of evolution suggests that life started from ocean, it started in some form of phase. So Hinduism got that correct several thousand years ago by the fish-like avatar of Vishnu, which is the starting avatar of the Dasa avatar. But the funny thing is, in that book, the fish avatar doesn't come to land by itself. It is brought in by Manu, and Manu is the first human. So it's like
Ah,
the Adam of Hinduism. So the people who came to this either have read neither of the theories, or they're just counting on that people won't notice this.
it's weird. I mean, I know from Muslims similar, teaching from the Quran that they present as science, which it isn't.
Yeah,
But I mean, such stuff shouldn't be taught in school, I think.
yeah, exactly. That's a huge point, and that's a very huge point. And they're also kind of butthurt about the fact that when the partition happened, the combined India was partitioned into Pakistan and India. So Pakistan got away with being an Islamic state, but
Mhm.
India didn't become a Hindu state, and that is something they're very butthurt about. And it is completely their fault. Like, see, the organization RSS I mentioned existed back then, but they don't have any contribution to independence. They rather tried to side with the British against the Indian freedom struggle to get a Hindu nation out of it, which is something they are trying to hide now for obvious reasons, because they want to pretend like they are the ones making India great again. Similar concept, just like that orange guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's very dumb and problematic. But
How's that?
unfortunately, it is really on the rise now, the Hindu
I
nationalism.
mean,
It's
how's that? Is there a more popular movement toward, well, at least defending the secular state?
it is because the opposition is mainly a secular opposition. Like there are oppositions who are also religious, just not Hindus. Like there are some political parties who are like Islamic, but people don't give much hate to that because unlike other parts of the world, they are really the minority. They have, relatively speaking, almost no power in compared to the Hindu parties here. So they are not much of a problem now, at least for now. And I don't see them happening much either, to be honest, because they are really in the minority. And the major opposition is secular, but they're not as popular as the ruling party, unfortunately. Like the ruling party is really good at doing this, and they didn't exactly do it out of nowhere. They have been working on it for like maybe like forever. As I said, like ISKCON is also ISKCON RSS. They're all connected in the back. They all feed off each other. They all extend one's devotee to another and promote similar
It's
kinds of
a,
concepts
it's a
indirectly.
pattern that we also see in Christian nationalism in the US, just with a different, religion, but very similar combination of nationalism and, religion into some unholy alliance.
Yeah, yeah. Although they
Anyway,
will never admit it openly.
let me see, there was another question. Yeah. What's an average day like? Are there things like tea time that most everyone observes?
Yeah. So the tea time thing is a bit of a British concept, like the tea time, that kind of concept. But tea is a huge thing in India, even outside of that. So there are two forms of tea that is mostly popular. There is one without milk and one with milk. The one without milk is something closer to what the British did, their customs and stuff. And the one with milk is relatively more popular here. And the term that is mostly used is chai. It's tea. It's just tea. It's just tea with milk. It's just a like common lingo here is chai. And there's not a definitive period for tea, but people do take chai breaks quite often. Like I personally am not into that much. I like tea. I don't. It's not that I don't like tea or something. I just not that regular, and I don't exactly take tea breaks or chai breaks because I work independently and I work from home. So it's like I control it myself. It's
Yeah.
more common in people who are working at office. So they're usually coming together, taking a break, and skipping work. Having
As
some
we
chit
do.
chats
Yeah.
and having a chai in that. So it's more common for people working from office and stuff. But yeah, it's a popular concept. And then this is also a popular thing for people hanging out, like friends hanging out after work or after school, and gossiping around a cup of chai. So it is, yeah. So it's really popular. Just the word tea time or designated times from it doesn't exactly exist.
I mean, I'm more a coffee drinker than tea, although I do drink tea. So, well, that's interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think it
I'm
is.
also more into coffee. Uh,
Ah, good for
like,
you.
yeah, yeah. I kind of start my day with a coffee because it's really easier. I just think that it is easier and you can mix more tea into coffee than you can mix with tea. I like tea as well. Like I'm not that divided. Like I have seen people fight over what is better, which is really funny to observe. But I'm not that into either. I like both, but as a regular, I prefer coffee.
Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, I think it is about time to wrap up this show. There's a few bits I want to comment on.
So,
First of all, thank you, patrons. Sidney Davis Jr., Eric Ozels, Tara S., Rion, Denis Murphy, Dandy, Michael Wiseman, Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, hello Cindy, Sonny Shell, Aaron Colson, and Phil Calderon. Hi Phil. And don't forget to check out our other shows. Skeptic Haven, Secular Soapbox on Wednesday, Thursday, The Sunny Spot, Saturday, The Global Atheist on Women Atheists on Load, and Let's Talk on Sunday. Join us right after the show at 3:30 Central with Women Atheists Unload. Today we have a panel that is going to discuss the craziness that has been going on in Florida. Thank you, Xandrieth. I really enjoyed our conversation.
yes, sir. Same here.
I
Let me just answer two quick comments that have really short answer. So
yeah,
the chai being typically spiced uh, is both true and untrue. See, the variation that people usually refer by chai is tea, milk, and a little bit of spice, ilaichi, usually ilaichi, clove, and some small amount of that. But the term chai also goes out for tea in general. And there is another, there's one other that I like. Stephana Helms said that. Oh, the previous comment was from Dean, and Stephanie says about how Arjun didn't want to fight, but Krishna shows him that he must because it is his dharma, and that is completely true. Krishna is a warrior. Sorry, Arjun is a warrior, but he didn't want to fight in that battle because uh, it was two families fighting each other. So they were all brothers and sisters. So he didn't want to fight that, but Krishna kind of shows that this is the path, this is dharma. Yeah, both Hinduism and all the dharmic religions, if you want to group them, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, they kind of talk about following a path that is designated for you, not just because you want to do something, you must do what is right. That kind of concept. Yeah. So Gita is one of the primary books behind that.
Okay, well, thank you for the conversation. Thank you for your time, and hope to speak to you soon.
Yes,
I'm
same
sure
here.
we'll find a subject that will be just as entertaining as this one. Thanks again.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you to our viewers, and bye bye.
Bye bye.